Alrighty, hello and welcome back to my channel for the Georgetown Industrial District, a freelanced shelf style switching layout based on the industrial areas that the Great Northern Railway served in the mid to late 60s in South Seattle area. This particular piece that you see here in front of me is what I call a practice board. It is a 1x2 foot piece of pine board on the bottom, and then about a 2-inch thick 1x2 Homosote insulation for the base. I chose this partly because I wanted to be able to cut into it for a drainage ditch, and that's what you see here. So far I'm using this as I said, a practice space for laying track, ballasting, ground texturing, etc. Before I start my main layout. The space I need for the main layout is still being cleared, and so in the meantime I'm using this as my practice area. So hopefully I can learn techniques here that I can apply to the layout when the time comes. So what you see right now is where I am so far. What I've got over here is spur track. Doesn't, of course, none of this isn't powered. It's not going anywhere. This little 1x2 world is all there is at the moment. Over here is a spur track for what will be a warehouse. This right here is just a mock-up for size, scale, idea, to give me an idea of what will be there, how tall it'll be, etc. And then of course this is what might consider the main line through the industrial area of this little world. At this point, I'm actually going to be doing roads. I have one road going along the front, like a main road, then this other road here on the side that goes into whatever fictional industrial world is over there. And the technique I'm using for the roads is something I picked up from the YouTube channel at Boomer Diorama. And in there, many people I'm sure have seen this or seen his channel. But when it comes to roads, he's using balsa wood as a foundation, if you will. And it's 1/8 inch thick balsa wood. And that's what I'm using here on each side. Underneath, you can't see it, I've already glued all this down. I'm using, for the glue, I'm using this wood glue picked up from Home Depot, I think, or Lowe's, one of the two. I can't ever remember. I've got two real close by. And that's what I've used to attach. Well, I used it to attach the track initially before ballasting. Glued the insulation to the board and glued the balsa wood to this insulation. Prior to that, underneath these two pieces, right about here on each one, I sanded away a lot of the thickness of the balsa wood strip, the 1/8, and it's down between 1/16 and a 32nd, just a couple millimeters in thickness, so it's flush with the rails. You can see here with this boxcar I haven't tried every single piece of rolling stock I have, but this boxcar goes through okay. So I would imagine, from what I can tell, most of my rolling stock and locomotives have pretty much the same size wheels, and so I don't think they would get hung up. So underneath you'll have that shaved, sanded down section, so it clears the ballast and the ties. And again, it's just wood glue underneath. And let's see. Oh yeah, and another technique that Boomer showed was sealing the wood with Varathane. In my case, I'm using a very similar thing. Get this in the camera. It is a spray instead of a can of liquid, but pretty much the same stuff is in the can as far as I can tell. Crystal clear satin, water-based, for interior. I don't know. I've never done this before, so I don't know if interior is just as good as exterior for this kind of thing, or if exterior is better, or what. Hopefully, the idea is this will keep the balsa wood from warping as you go through the process of adding the road surface and then painting and weathering. I gave each piece of balsa wood a couple of coats of this Varathane spray, then glued them down. Now I'm to the point where I'm going to start applying the road surface. And another thing that I learned from Boomer is he uses, I don't think this is the only thing he used, but on the particular video I watched, he was using this crackle paste, and when it dries, it has nice cracks in the surface, very much like what you'd see in an asphalt or concrete, very old or well-used, worn road surface. And I'm going to do it in at least 2 layers, possibly 3. It's building up thin layers of the crackle paste on the balsa wood, and then of course let it dry, and then sand it down a little bit, apply a second coat, dry, sand, third maybe, so on. But I'll see how it looks after a couple of coats and sanding, and at that point I'll be weathering, painting and weathering. I don't have a functional airbrush yet, though I do have airbrush. I'm trying to find the compressor. But the paints I'm using are Vallejo, and I don't have the greatest lighting in here at the moment. Still working on that. Hopefully you can see the brand, the line, which one I'm using. This is Dark Sea Gray 71.053. This one is the same brand. All 4 of these are the same brand. And they're all Model Air. This is Pale Blue Gray 71.046. This one hopefully again you can see these. Let's see, 71.054, dark gray blue, and then here we have cement gray 71.045. And A lot of the things that Boomer talks about in his videos, and there are a couple other videos that or channels that I like to watch for weathering rolling stock and etc. But is the idea to build up in layers. As an artist myself, graphic designer is my original career path. But I also did some fine art, illustration, little painting. But the idea is to build up in layers, light to dark. And that's what I'm doing in this case with these paints is after I'm satisfied with the crackle paste, then going to the painting portion and building that up from light to dark. And hopefully my results will be reasonably acceptable. But this is a practice world, so we shall see how that goes. Hopefully it will go well. So I guess I don't think I'm forgetting anything else at this moment. So I'm going to go ahead and try applying crackle paste. And for that, I have this simple, I forget all of a sudden, I should know this, and my brain just suddenly stopped working. Palette knife, I should know this, palette knife. Alright, so I'm going to start, here we go. I'm going to keep saying this in my videos, at least as I'm starting out. I'm new at this, and learning as I go. This is a technique I really liked that I saw, and I'm hoping that it works out well. And here we go. I don't know how easily you can see the texture. To me it's similar to toothpaste, but it's soft and here we go. When I was in art school and after art school, I never really did much, if anything, with palette knife when it came to artwork, painting. I know it's one of the many ways to work with acrylics. It's not one that I was ever really familiar with. When it came to my art career, I was, as I mentioned, graphic design primarily, and back when I was in school, I graduated in September of '89, and back then we were still doing most things by hand when it came to working with your product, whatever your design was, getting it ready for print, etc. It was all this old school by hand. And commercial art, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I was a commercial artist. I still do freelance graphic design. Haven't done much illustrating for a while, painting, etc. But I still enjoy art. Although I don't partake in the fine art aspect much these days. Like I should, but I haven't. And I don't know. Maybe getting back into model railroading, scenery, building, of just all the aspects, from the framework for the layout to track, ballasting, and just everything. Maybe that'll inspire me to get back into fine art more. Kind of difficult to tell for sure just how thin this is. But we'll see once it dries what it looks like. Like I said, I'm going to be doing at least 2 coats, too thin. Sanding them down. Looks like I'm picking up bits of terrain, getting it in the mix there. But sanding it down and after it's dried. I don't know how long this is supposed to take. I don't remember if it was ever specified in Boomer's videos. But I'll probably give it a good 48 hours just to be sure. You know, maybe I'll find that in the future it doesn't require that much time. But this is a learning process. And I want to do it right. I mean, when it comes to this sort of thing, I tend to be perfectionist. I mean, I know you can't be perfect when it comes to these things. I guess I'd say I'm detail oriented. You know, for me, what makes me happy in this hobby is detail. And that's one reason behind the shelf layout idea is I want to be able to do detail more than you might find on a larger layout, for example. Although some people, in the years I've been doing, and haven't done anything until now. This is, as I've already stated in previous posts, this is my first attempt at a layout. But I've had a lifelong interest in model railroading and rail trains, and have had a few false starts, but they never really went anywhere for different reasons, whether it was space or finances or just whatever. They didn't get anywhere. Before this, my most recent attempt was maybe 13 years ago, when my son at the time was about 4 years old, I guess. I started a shelf idea. It never got further than shelf with a test track. And that was a lot due to just being a young, inexperienced father and having to work having expenses. I don't know. I'm just didn't go anywhere with it, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. But now I decided at 59 years old, as of November 2025, that I need to do something. I've got some stuff. I mean, I've got rolling stock, locomotives, not a huge collection, but I'm ready to do something. I need this for that creative part of you that you have to feed, at least that I feel like I have to feed. I'm sure there are others out there who feel like that, and they approach the hobby in different ways, and different from how I'm approaching. Like I said, I like detail, so that's one advantage of a small layout, is I can put more time into the details, getting as realistic as reasonable with what I'm doing. Whether it's weathering freight cars, the track, scenery, just anything about it is, operationally, I want to have realistic operation. For me, for my mental makeup, that's how it needs to be. Some people are perfectly happy with putting down a loop of track and running trains around in a circle, or expanding on that with a few switches, turnouts, sidings, so forth. And if that's what makes them happy, that's awesome. That's in this hobby. You have to be, as with anything, especially any creative thing, you have to be happy. Everybody does it differently. This is how I want to do it. So, next I am going to do something a little different. Initially I was going to put a thinner strip of 1/8 or 16th inch, I think it's 16th inch balsa. This one here, I'm going to trim that up, put a piece right down the middle. Then I thought, you know what, this is a practice board and an experiment, a place to experiment. I'm going to do something different. That being, I'm going to just fill that gap with the paste, and I'm all quiet. Now, forgive my quiet there. I guess I'm trying to model it as I've seen it in the industrial areas around my town, my city. Some especially are quite old, I mean, the tracks have been there for a very long time. This area was the western terminus of the Great Northern Railway, and but we also had a good sized presence with the Northern Pacific and Milwaukee Road. Milwaukee Road, of course, came late. Compared to the other two. But I have many good memories of when I was a child, and seeing the trains going through my town. In particular, the city I live in, Renton, Washington, for a good chunk of time was home to, well, it still has a large Boeing airplanes footprint. 737 mainly is what is produced here in Renton. But I remember, and I still see to this day, you still see trains coming in with fuselages. I believe they're from Kansas City, or I can't remember exactly where down there, but the I see the fuselages coming in fairly often when I'm out and about, and they go right through downtown Renton, and it's an impressive sight if you're up close. See them. Yeah. I forget where I was going with that. Well, I make a mess here. And I've got this little, oops, that's all right. I'll be sanding, but little wheel set I'm used for different, well, I used it when I was putting down the ballast to make sure, along with using a few different cars and one of my locomotives, had to make sure there'd be clearance, the ballast wasn't interfering with the rails. And obviously this isn't the finished layout, but at least when it comes to the track, the ballast, hopefully when this whole thing is completed, this practice board, hopefully it will be representative of what I'm wanting to do. And so, anyway, that's, I think, it for the moment. Let this dry. Might be a couple days before I get back to it to do a sanding. See how that looks. Apply another coat. See how that looks. Maybe a third coat. But sanding each time. And eventually, after it's been painted, I'll of course put lines, stop lines, railroad crossing, etc. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any comments and questions, advice, I'm always happy to receive those. Thank you. Have a good day.